I'm Jimmy. Today's day 345 of reading Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Let's go. Let's get started. I'm currently on page 10. A trapped feeling he had when he was awake. Often the old scar on his forehead prickled uncomfortably, but he did not fool himself that Ron or Hermione or Cyrus would find that very interesting anymore. In the past, his scar hurting had warned that Voldemort was getting stronger again, but now that Voldemort was back, they would probably remind him that its irregular irritation was only to be expected. Nothing to worry about. Old news. The injustice of it all welled up inside him so that he wanted to yell with fury. If it hadn't been for him, nobody would have even known Voldemort was back. And his reward was to be stuck in Little Winging for 4 solid weeks, completely cut off from the magical world, and reduced to squatting among dying begonias so that he could hear about water-skiing budgerigars. How could Dumbledore have forgotten him so easily? Why had Ron and Hermione got together without inviting him along too? How much longer was he supposed to endure Cyrus telling him to sit tight and be a good boy? Or resist the temptation to write to the stupid Daily Prophet and point out that Voldemort had returned? These furious thoughts whirled around in Harry's head, and his insides writhed with anger as a sultry, velvety night fell around him. The air full of the smell of warm, dry grass, and the only sound of the low grumble of traffic on the road beyond the park railings. He did not know how long he had sat on the swing before the sound of voices interrupted his musing, and he looked up. The streetlamps from the surrounding roads were cast a misty glow strong enough to silhouette a group of people making their way across the park. One of them was singing a loud, crude song. The others were laughing. A soft ticking noise came from several expensive racing bikes that they were wheeling along. Harry knew who those people were. The figure in front of was unmistakably his cousin, Dudley Dursley, wending his way home, accompanied by his faithful gang. Dudley was as vast as ever, but he used hard dieting, and the discovery of a new talent had wrought quite a challenge in his physique. As Uncle Vernon delightedly told anyone who would listen, Dudley has recently become the junior heavyweight inter-school boxing champion of the Southeast. The noble sport, as Uncle Vernon called it, had made Dudley even more formidable than he had seemed to Harry in the primary school days where he had served as Dudley's first punching bag. Harry was not remotely afraid of his cousin anymore, but he still didn't think that Dudley learning to punch harder and more accurately was cause for celebration. Neighborhood children all around were terrified of him. Even more terrified they were of that Potter boy who they had been warned was a hardened hooligan who attended St. Brutus's secure center for incurably criminal boys. Harry watched the dark figures crossing the grass and wondered whom they had been beating up tonight. Look round, Harry found himself thinking as he watched them. Come on, look round. I'm sitting here all alone. Come and have a go. If Dudley's friends saw him sitting here, they would be sure to make a beeline for him. And what would Dudley do then? He wouldn't want to lose face in front of the gang, but he'd be terrified of provoking Harry. It would be really fun to watch Dudley's dilemma. To watch him, was powerless to respond. And if any of the others tried to hit Harry was ready. He had his wand. Let them try. He'd love to vent some of his frustration on the boys who had once made his life hell. But they did not turn around. They did not see him. They were almost at the railing. Harry mastered the impulse to call after them. Seeking a fight was not a smart move. He must not use magic. He would be risking expulsion again. Dudley's gang's voices died. They were out of sight, heading along Magnolia Road. There you go, Cyrus, Harry thought dully. Nothing rash. Kept my nose clean. Exactly the opposite of what you'd have done. He got to his feet and stretched. Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon seemed to feel that whenever Dudley turned up was the right time to be home, and any time after that was much too late. Uncle Vernon had threatened to lock Harry in the shed if he came home after Dudley again, so, stifling a yawn, still scowling, Harry set off toward the park gate. Magnolia Road, like Privet Drive, was full of large square houses with perfectly manicured lawns, all owned by large square owners who drove very clean cars similar to Uncle Vernon's. Harry preferred Little Winking by night, when the curtained windows made patches of jewel-bright color in the darkness, and he ran no danger of hearing disapproving mutters about his delinquent appearance when he passed the householders. He walked quickly, so that halfway along Magnolia Road, Dudley's gang came into view again. They were saying their farewells at the entrance to Magnolia Crescent. Harry stepped into the shadow of a large lilac tree and waited. Squealed like a pig, didn't he? Malcolm was saying, to guffaws from the others. Nice right hook, Big D, said Pierce. Same time tomorrow, said Dudley. Round at my place. My parents are out, said Gordon. See ya then, said Dudley. Bye, Dud. See ya, Big D. Harry waited for the rest of the game to move on before setting off again. When their voices had faded one by one to more, he headed around the corner into Magnolia Crescent, and by walking very quickly, he soon came within hailing distance of Dudley, who was strolling along at his ease, humming tunelessly. Hey, Big D. Dudley turned. Oh, he grunted. It's you. How long have you been Big D, then? Said Harry. Shut it, snarled Dudley, turning away again. Cool name, said Harry, grinning and falling into step beside his cousin, but you'll always be Ickle Diddykins to me. I said shut it, said Dudley, whose ham-like hands had curled into fists. Don't the boys know that's what your mom calls you? Shut your face. You don't tell her to shut her face. What about Pumpkin and Diddy-Dum? Dinky Diddy-Dums. Can I use them then? Dudley said nothing. The effort of keeping himself from hitting Harry seemed to be demanding all his self-control. So, who've you been beating up tonight? Harry asked, his grin fading. Another 10-year-old? I know you did Mark Evans 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. He was asking for it, snarled Dudley. Oh, yeah? He cheeked me. Yeah, did he say you look like a pig that's been taught to walk on its hind legs? 'Cause that's not cheek, Dud. That's true. A muscle was twitching in Dudley's jaw. It gave Harry enormous satisfaction to know how furious he was making Dudley. He felt as though he was siphoning off his own frustration into his cousin, the only outlet he had. They turned right down the narrow alleyway where Harry had first seen Cyrus, which formed a shortcut between Magnolia Crescent and Wisteria Walk. It was empty and much darker than the streets in length because there were no street lamps. Their footsteps were muffled between garage walls on one side and a high fence on the other. Think you're a big man carrying that thing, don't you? Dudley said after a few seconds. What thing? That thing you're hiding. Harry grinned again. Not as stupid as you look, are you, Dud? But I suppose if you were, you wouldn't be able to walk and talk at the same time. Harry pulled out his wand. He saw Dudley look sideways at it. You're not allowed, Dudley said at once. I know you're not. You'd get expelled from that freak school you go to. How do you know they haven't changed the rules, Big D? They haven't, said Dudley, though he didn't sound completely convinced. Harry laughed softly. You haven't got the guts to take me on without that thing, have you? Dudley snarled. Well, yes, you just need 4 mates behind you before you can beat up a 10-year-old. You know that boxing title you keep banging on about? How old was your opponent? 7? 8? He was 16 for your information, snarled Dudley, and he was out cold for 20 minutes after I finished with him, and he was twice as heavy as you. Ooh, you just wait till I tell Dad you had that thing out. Running to Daddy now, are you? Is his Ickle boxing champ frightened of Nasty Harry's wand? Not this brave at night, are you? Sneered Dudley. This is night, Diddykins. That's what we call it when it goes all dark like this. I mean when you're in bed, Dudley snarled. He had stopped walking. Harry stopped too, staring at his cousin. From the little he could see of Dudley's arch face, he was wearing a strangely triumphant look. What do you mean I'm not brave in bed? Said Harry. Completely. Thank everyone. That's all for today. Bye. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to read page 15. Bookmark, close. Peace out.